The PW Fan is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for the fans. And thank you for joining us. This is episode 78, our WrestleMania special. I am your host, your grumpy old school wrestling fan, collector, barber, and singer of Fall Break, Talk Wrestling, Tim Gilbert.
And I'm your host, the architect of pro wrestling podcast, Funko Pop collector, Booker Andy.
I'm also your host, the No Sound Wrestling Indie fan and football lover, Jeremy.
Well, guys, you want to know what we're talking about today? This episode is called The Mania of WrestleMania. And we are going to be talking everything WrestleMania week and weekend. So, pretty self-explanatory. But first, before we get to our WrestleMania special, if you guys could go to YouTube, search the PW Fan, quickly hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out. Let's go through the checklist here. I know I don't want to bore everybody. We got some stuff to talk about. We got the shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. See that we sold a couple more recently. Thank you, guys and gals. And we got tons of different designs, 5 different shirts total. Check those out. For all other social media, you can check us out by looking up at the PW Fan, where we kindly ask you to follow, like, subscribe, all those things. We're pretty much on every platform. Unless you still have like MySpace or Zanga. I think we pop up on everything else.
Not on those.
Every current platform.
We're not on those. We're on modern day platforms. And that's about it. Andy, we got a big show, man. I'm going to pass it over to you. Get our WrestleMania spectacular started off.
All right, yep. Like Tim said, we have a big show, so I'm going to go through everything. Some things I'm going to, go over quickly, and other things we'll dive a little deeper. But the bulk of it, we want to try to get to the Mania stuff kind of as quick as possible. So with Raw setting up Mania this week, we had Miz TV, which had Trish Stratus, Lita, Becky Lynch, and Damage Control. After that, we had Seth Rollins. He cut a promo after defeating Ali to hype up his match with Logan Paul. We had a Brock Lesnar and Omos weigh-in that, if you think about any other weigh-in, kind of went off the rails. There was a Finn Balor promo, which referenced his demon, and that's when we got to confirm that it was going to be Finn versus Edge, or Demon Finn versus Edge at Mania. Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville qualified for their Mania match for the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team match. And Paul Heyman had a backstage interview about how Cody Rhodes is not ready to be in the role of champion, or to face Roman Reigns, or to main event WrestleMania. Just wasn't ready for everything. We had Dominic on the mic, and he wished that Eddie was his real father and that Rey never existed. Lashley was added to the list of names for Andre the Giant Battle Royal on Smackdown later that week. So that means his match with Bray would not be happening, unfortunately. And we still haven't heard anything really about Bray's condition or illness that they said he has. We had a backstage promo with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and we ended the night with Solo Sikoa suffering his first loss to Cody Rhodes in the main event.
I thought this was interesting that they gave it a clean. For the most part, Solo lost with really no extra help, and which is weird. But I guess you don't. I guess the thing about streaks is if they go too long, then they really do become a thing, and then it becomes if somebody beats this guy, it's gonna be crazy. And I think Solo's. He probably was about due for a loss, and there's definitely worse people to lose to than Cody.
Well, I also think, if he loses to Solo, what chance does he have to even beat Reigns at Mania?
That's right.
I think that's the big takeaway.
See, that's the thing. From a realistic perspective, and I tell people all the time, because people, compare wrestling to movies and stuff like that, but, you can't, Cody, the main character, he can't lose to the second in charge bad guy in the movie when he still has to fight the main bad guy later on. It just doesn't make sense with the story. So yeah, Solo, he pretty much had to lose this match unless it was going to be disqualification or some type of shamaz. We can do some type of shamaz. That's a Bret Hart Wrestling with Shadows reference for those who remember it. Well, what would you have me
his,
do? Yeah, when he
Yeah.
didn't want to lose to Sean, he's like, "What would you have me do?" He's like, "I mean, we could do something like a shamaz, type of shamaz."
I was gonna add. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on that, but he only said he wasn't gonna lose because Sean said that he wouldn't drop the belt to Brett,
And he said that
or
no,
that he
all
wouldn't.
right.
He wouldn't do what Brett
Real
was
quick.
willing to
All
do
right,
for
hang
him.
on. We're gonna hop off the train tracks. I swear we're gonna hop
Summarizing,
right back on.
but
No,
All right.
because that's not what happened, though. It's just not accurate information. What he said was, he said, even though we don't like each other, basically, like, I still will be professional and make sure that you don't, like, get hurt in the ring, essentially. Like, I'm going to protect you, take care of you. And Sean said, that's nice of you to say. I just want you to know that I'm not willing to do the same for you. And then walked off. That's what he said.
all right. Now that that's cleared up, let's continue this big whole episode. And yes, as Tim mentioned, Wrestling with Shadows, it is a Bret Hart thing. It's very good if you haven't checked it out, and it goes into the whole story. Anyway, Dynamite this week, we had a promo between Jungle Boy and MJF after Jungle Boy's win. We still don't really know who MJF is going to be feuding with, if it's going to be one person, multiple people yet, but it seems like Sami Guevara won a singles match last week, and then Jungle Boy won one the week now this week that we're talking about, and I'm sure they're going to have everyone. That's the four pillars, just winning matches and proving that they deserve a spot. The BCC attacked Heyman Page and Don Callis backstage, and before this happened, Hangman said BBC instead of BCC, and it made me laugh. So
That was funny.
I thought it was kind of funny.
I love Dom.
He flubbed it. Kenny Omega versus Jeff Cobb for the IWGP United States Championship. Winner was Kenny Omega. The BCC came out afterwards to attack, and then Bryan Danielson came out to stop them from attacking. But then Danielson starts attacking Kenny. Sinclair got to him, and looks like they're all heels now. And Danielson, to answer our question, is in the Blackpool Combat Club still. But they are now, it looks like, a heel group.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I figured you
You
would.
don't like it?
No. It's stupid that they still even have the BCC. I'm like, get rid of this thing. The guy is not even there anymore.
Regal?
Yeah, he works for
I
a different company. All these dudes are American.
Yeah.
None of them are from Blackpool.
No, Claudio's not, but
Well, okay.
Oh, yeah. The whole reason it was Blackpool is because of Regal. Now it's not even.
yeah.
And if you just call it the Combat
All right, yeah,
Club,
I
it
get what
sounds
you're saying.
lame as shit.
It does.
Our main event, though, was Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia. This is Adam Cole's first match back.
He was a man. He had a
since,
beard.
Forbidden Door.
I
What?
always like the baby Jesus. He's like, dear, sweet baby Jesus, with your little diapers. And then the grandpa interrupts, and he's like, he was a man. He had a beard.
Let's not go off into movie references
Sorry.
like we did
We're
before.
only like 10 minutes in right now.
Adam Cole versus Daniel Garcia. Adam Cole's first match back since Forbidden Door. Adam Cole won. Jericho comes out to get Garcia afterwards, and Jericho stops at the ramp and turns around. I don't know. It seems like our next feud with Adam Cole and first feud back is going to be with Jericho. Jeremy, did you get that vibe after?
Yeah, I don't think they got the reaction that they thought they were going to get with Jericho kind of like looking behind. Or he didn't really do it that well. But either way, I mean, it is the feud they're going to do. But
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty obvious. I don't know if you guys watched it, but All Access, AEW All Access aired
I
this
watched
week.
it.
I liked it a lot. Jeremy, what were your thoughts? I don't think you watched it, Tim.
Tim wouldn't like it. I think.
I didn't. I don't.
Really? I
I
think
don't-
he would. I thought he would like it.
It's very much a reality-based show.
Are,
I feel like
are-
it's kind of like scripted.
The,
it like-
the last half is like all about Adam Cole's injury and his doctor's appointments and
then-
stuff.
The little teaser at the end where Tony Khan is at the end. He's like, "God damn it!" He's like,
Oh,
yelling
yeah.
about something.
Yeah,
Young
are
Bucks
they going to talk about
in the
do you think
show? No, Young Bucks in the show said, "What happened. We don't want to talk about it." And that's all they said to address what happened at.
But
All
Tony
Out.
Khan said, "God damn it."
Well, that was a teaser for like whatever's going on next week. He was in Gorilla.
He had the headset on, and like the show was happening, and he was like yelling about something.
He was like,
Who's coming
"God
out?
damn it."
Oh, why is this Cody's mystery partner?
Wise man.
Do you watch it?
Well, it turned it off because Bork.
Looks like Cody's mystery partner might be Brock and not Matt Cardona.
Oh, so you're wrong again.
I know
Dude, Booker
Booker Andy's not
Andy
very good.
losing his
He's
touch,
been off
bro.
lately.
Booker Andy's Matt Cardona, so.
I liked All Access. It was better than
This isn't going to help with
Crossroads show or
T-shirt
whatever.
sales. This isn't going to help with T-shirt sales.
What? Oh, the Booker Andy. Yeah, I know. Let me get back on track. But Jeremy, did you like it better than the Cody Rhodes show?
Yeah, I like the different.
Yeah.
Definitely better than Cody's
I'll
show.
be watching every week, brother. All right, let's keep moving. SmackDown this week. The Usos opened up the show, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens came out. We had the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. When LA Knight was eliminated, that crowd erupted in boos. They really wanted him to win.
Yeah.
And then even after he was eliminated, they started chanting LA Knight. But Bobby Lashley ended up winning. I'm curious if his match with Bray were to have happened, who would have won the Battle Royal?
Yeah, I feel like LA Knight would have won then.
But Bobby Lashley is now the winner. Rey Mysterio gifted Santos Escobar and the rest of Legado del Fantasma LWO shirts, and it seems like they are bringing the LWO back.
Do you think they're bringing it back, or it's just for like that?
I've read that they're bringing it back right now. So, Cody Rhodes comes.
The way that Brock is manhandling Cody with these handshakes right now. Is really
Yeah, what's going on with that? He's like
Yeah.
shaking his hand so hard. And then he was hugging him, and then he was saying something to him when he was hugging him. He was like whispering something too.
Our main event, though, for SmackDown wasn't a match. It was the final confrontation between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns before Mania. Cody Rhodes comes out. He talks about how Roman said he couldn't even get over in his own company, which is funny because Roman Reigns is a 10-year investment by WWE who only started paying off in year 8. That was a nice little line by Cody, I thought.
Yeah.
Tim, were you able to catch this promo at all?
A little bit, but on YouTube. I didn't watch the live.
Well, after he said that comment, the crowd's like, "Oh!" Cody says, "What? I thought we were shooting here, cowboy." That was a nice little fun thing. He said, "I am your successor. I am your next head of the table. I am the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and I'm your next undisputed WWE Universal Champion." And then Roman Reigns comes out, and the only things he said is, "Cody Rhodes, acknowledge me." First he said the city, and he said, "Actually, I'm not going to address them." He said, "I'm going to address you." And he said, "Cody Rhodes, acknowledge me." Drops the mic, walks away. All right. Right after SmackDown, we had the Hall of Fame. I'm going to quickly go through this. Stacy Keibler was our first inductee. She was inducted by Mick Foley and Tori Wilson. Then we had Andy Kaufman, who was inducted by Jimmy Hart, and Andy's family accepted the induction. Great Muta came out. Ric Flair inducted him. Apparently, WWE was not very happy with his speech. I don't know what he said,
Ric Flair.
if it was bad or what. Because
They weren't.
Muta,
They
'cause I knew
weren't.
it was going to.
They weren't. Wait, they weren't happy with Flair or Muta.
Flair's speech.
Flair.
Well, yeah, because he just.
I don't know. He droned on.
Flair was also
He mentioned
hated.
Sting, who's wrestling for another company. And when Muta came out and gave his speech, it was like, "I don't speak very good English," thanked everyone, and that was it. His speech was like a minute long. After that, we had the Warrior Award for referee Tim White. He was inducted by the APA, and Tim's brothers accepted the award for him. I remember seeing a bunch of matches with Tim White. Tim White actually would get involved a lot, so he was kind of a fun referee, and everyone seemed to have liked him.
Yeah,
If you
rest
ever
in
see any
peace.
Andre the Giant stuff, he also drove around Andre the Giant. He's in the HBO Andre the Giant documentary.
He also, and I feel like it's not fair to glance over this, even though he, rest in peace, he was also a part of maybe some of the worst storylines ever in wrestling history. Do you remember which ones I'm talking about?
What year are we talking?
There was a series of vignettes where Tim White kept dying in different ways and killing himself in different ways. Dude, it's so bad.
I don't.
Yes, there's one where he throws himself into like a wood chipper. Dude, it's...
Why?
This is... So they had this weird story. So what happened was he got hurt in real life in the Hell in a Cell match.
Yes, I remember that. I remember because they were showing it.
And then they had this like
Or
weird
one of the
storyline that since he couldn't like be a ref anymore, or like he was depressed, so he kept trying to like find different ways to kill himself. It was fucked up, and it's real too.
Jeez.
I remember that.
Yeah, see, Jeremy's like, oh wait, maybe I don't know what's worse. That and the Katie Vick thing are maybe the worst things that's ever been done in wrestling, dude. It's so bad. And there was this guy. Oh, it was Josh Matthews would always try to go interview him, and he'd be like, he's like, Mr. White, no, don't do that, Mr. White. And then he would like jump into like a spinning fan or some crazy shit, and blood would spray all over Josh Matthews. It's so terrible. But I prefer to remember him for being a great referee and the whole Andre the Giant like HBO documentary. He was awesome in that. He was
great because he was his personal driver.
And he had real insight, and he knew Andre, so he really made that documentary special.
But he was also able to kind of tell you how Andre was feeling emotionally.
But we're lucky, we're lucky because now that both of those guys have passed on, including Tim White, it's like now we have that on film now. All those stories, like that's saved.
He only recently passed, like 2020 or something like that. Like it wasn't that long ago, I don't think. Maybe even 2021 or 2022. Yeah. Okay. Our final inductee was Rey Mysterio. He was inducted by Conan, which WWE was happy with his speech. They thought he did a really good job. And after watching, I thought
we're not going to be happy with him.
He died in 2022 from health issues at the age of 68.
Okay, so Jeremy was right. It's even more recently.
Yeah.
But apparently they were happy about Conan's speech. Who knows? Maybe Flair went in for himself and like started talking about his own shit. Like for all I know, I wouldn't doubt it. So during Ray's entrance, walk out to the ring, Dom, Rhea, and Damian stayed seated during his entrance. And then they stand up and leave at the beginning of his speech. So they walked out.
Yeah. You see that Dom was trying to be like a serious face and not get emotional because he's actually happy for his dad.
Yeah. So he's like, I gotta walk out. So that wrapped up the Hall of Fame. I like that they've kept it shorter now. It kind of moves a little better. Not as many people getting inducted.
Yeah, definitely helps.
So I don't know if any of you guys saw any of Supercard of Honor, but I wanted to go over the main matches. Okay, you saw a clip. So, because some titles were changed, some weren't, so I want to go through quickly.
All I heard was that all the matches were great on this card.
Okay. I mean, I wanted to watch it while it was going on, but where I watch it, didn't have it going until the next day, and then I just didn't have time.
Yeah, where are you watching?
I can't say. Tim won't let me say where I watch. So Supercard of Honor. We had the ROH six-man tag team champions, the Embassy, which is Brian Cage, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona versus AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik, formerly known as Great Metalik in WWE. The winners were the Embassy. They retained their titles. we had the AAA Mega Championship. It was El Hijo del Vikingo. I know I say it so slowly. Versus Commander, which I heard this match was pretty crazy. Winner was Vikingo. RH Women's Champion Athena versus Yuka Sakazaki. Winner, I said that really nicely. Winner was Athena.
Nice.
ROH Television Champion Samoa Joe versus Mark Briscoe. I would have liked to see Mark Briscoe win, but Samoa Joe retained.
Yeah.
The Reach for the Sky ladder match for the new ROH tag team titles. I've not seen what they looked like, and I probably should have looked them up, but or if they even have a new look, I don't know. But it was the Lucha Bros versus Top Flight versus the Kingdom versus Aussie Open versus Roosh and Drolistico. Winners were Lucha Bros. They're the new ROH tag team champions. During that match, there was a spot with Penta and Dante Martin that is pretty nasty. You can find it online on TikTok.
Spot,
it's a crazy spot.
It's like until he rolled his ankle.
Is that all it was, or was it an ankle break? So because it looked pretty.
Well, no,
bad.
I mean like he basically landed on his the side of his ankle.
Well, Tim, you saw that spot.
Oh, dude, it was so gnarly. And it doesn't help that every time people keep posting it and then putting the Wednesday nights I get to stay up late. Oh my god.
The ROH Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta versus I'm not even gonna say his first name, Shibata. Everyone just calls him Shibata. Winner was Shibata. He's the new ROH Pure Champion. And then the main event was ROH World Champion Claudio Castagnoli against Eddie Kingston, and the winner was Claudio.
Eddie Kingston cut a promo afterwards.
He cut a promo afterwards that I don't know. I wish I could hear all of it, but it's pretty gnarly apparently.
Basically, he's not done with Claudio.
Before we get to Mania, I want to get to NXT Stand and Deliver. We had Chase University and Tyler Bate against Schism. Winners were Chase U. I found out today 2 of the members of Schism asked for their release, and they were granted it. They used to be the Grizzled Young Vets, these 2 guys, and so they have been released of their contracts as they asked. We had a ladder match for the women's title. Zoe Stark versus Gigi Dolan versus Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria and Indy Hartwell and the champion Roxanne Perez. Winner was Indy Hartwell. Very happy for her. It's been a long time coming. So good for her. I think because of that, Roxanne Perez is probably going to get called up. I'd assume maybe. Or even Zoe Stark, I heard maybe, would get called up. Gallus versus the Creed brothers versus the D'Angelo family for the NXT tag titles. Joe Coffey returned during this match to help out his brother and Wolfgang, and so Gallus retained their titles and are still the tag team champions. Joe Coffey. That's his name. His brother's Mark Coffey, and he's Joe Coffey. It's Gallus. Gallus boys on top. They're great. Joe Coffey's the man. This match was the match of the night for me. It was Wesley versus Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough versus Ilya Dragunov and Axiom. It was a fatal 5-way for the champion of the North, the NXT North American title. Winner was Wesley. If you're going to watch any match from this show, this one was pretty good. I think I texted you, Jeremy, or I might have texted the group, actually. But to me, NXT is finally back to like a nice core group. I feel like. And I know you guys don't really pay attention to it, but you might want to start. It's getting pretty solid again. Took a little bit of time, but we had Johnny Gargano versus Grayson Waller in an unsanctioned match. Winner was Johnny Gargano. Then we had Fallon Henley and Kiana James versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn for the NXT Women's Tag Titles. Winners and new champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Main event was Braun Breaker versus Carmella Hayes for the NXT title. And after about 2 years almost as champion, Braun Breaker is no longer the champ, and the era of Carmella Hayes has begun. Rumors Braun Breaker, Rick Steiner's son, will be coming up to the main roster. All right. Tonight could be SmackDown, could be Raw. Who knows? Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, though. WrestleMania Night 1. So now we're going to be going a little more in depth. I want your guys' thoughts and
I would say the better night.
better night as a whole.
Yeah.
I think I asked Tim. I think all the way through, every match was pretty good. So opening bout, Night 1, Austin Theory versus John Cena. I liked the match. I would say I felt like it could have been a little better than it actually was.
Yeah.
But your winner was Austin Theory. It was a little bit of a passing of the torch. What you guys think?
Yeah, I didn't expect too much from this one because it's just.
I expected Theory to win.
Yeah, I expected that, but yeah, I mean it's kind of like I think I texted you guys. It was weird to see Cena with a bald spot. I was saying after one.
Yeah.
He's got hair heat with Tim.
Yeah.
Hair heat. No, I mean what? And that's the thing. He couldn't do much because I'm sure he has movies coming up. He can't do anything too crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he was just filming a movie in Australia. Ricky Stenicki.
With Santino.
After that second match, which I feel like it was a dark horse of a match, man. I don't know what people expected. I wasn't hyped for it at all. But Alpha Academy versus Street Profits versus Viking Raiders and Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Winners were Street Profits. This match was very good.
It was.
Yeah. Tim talked to me about that tower spot. Asked me if I had seen it. Right? That's what you called it?
The Tower of Doom?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was
They
a Tower
actually
of
did
Doom spot.
They did a big stack.
One of the Viking Raiders at one point did a backflip off the top rope, which was freaking crazy to see.
Bang.
And then after that, Braun Strowman got up to the top rope. I'm sure Undertaker was backstage to be like, never do that again or I'll come out and take you out myself.
That was insane that he did that. Even though they got out there.
So let's talk about Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. Winner was Seth Rollins. Thank God.
Thank God.
What's your some spots in it where KSI was dressed up as the Prime Bottle and Rollins was on the table. He pulled KSI on. I was about to say CSI. He pulled KSI onto it, and Logan jumped off and landed on KSI. No, this match was good though. It was competitive. No guy was dominating. I felt like the whole time. Logan Paul has no right to be, as Triple H says, has no right to be as good as he is for as little time as he's wrestled before.
I didn't realize that his finisher wasn't the buckshot lariat. Or is that his finisher?
I figured it was the punch. They always talk about his titanium hand and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Because he always does the buckshot lariat pretty well too.
Tim, anything to add to this match?
No, I mean, again, just like Triple H said, it's dude, the guy has no reason to be as good as he is. We've been saying this from the beginning where we all didn't want to like him, but I mean, I still don't, don't get it twisted. I still don't like him. All right, let's not get crazy here. But he does do a very good job in the role that he does. I just can't bring myself to ever say that I like one of the Paul brothers. They're so annoying. I'm sorry.
Well, Seth said that Seth is actually higher on him now than he was before. After his match, he said, you said some nice words about Logan and that the WWE actually should renew his contract.
Yeah, but I remember it's cool that he's good at wrestling, but then when I think of the Paul brothers, I still remember them going to the Suicide Forest in Japan.
I was going to say, the Suicide Forest.
And making fun of it. I'm like, bruh. And there was a person there when they were doing it.
Yeah. Moving forward.
But hey, he can do some he can do some wrestling moves sick.
Well, he also had a dance partner. He also had a dance partner like Seth Rollins to help make him look good. I mean, he can't do it on his own. Seth was probably calling all the spots, I would assume, during the match.
And Seth also came out in like this. What? don't
I
know
hated
what he
it.
was wearing.
I hated it. I hated it almost as much as I hated Charlotte's robe, which looked like a big winter jacket.
Yeah. And what about Logan Paul's entrance with the
He had like the head
Oh.
mic, and he was like,
I didn't understand the mic.
he was hanging around and going forward. He was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" I was like, "All right, yeah, we get it,
It's
whatever."
like he just had to fill time because he's had a mic on, and then you keep saying stuff.
Yeah, he's like, "Whoa, this is wild." We had a 6-woman tag: Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky versus Damage Control. Winners were Trish, Lita, and Becky. I really thought Trish was going to turn heel because that's what the talk was, and they kind of made it seem like she might have during Miss TV on Raw, but she did not. Solid match. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for to not have wrestled in so long come back, but I thought they did a pretty good job in that spot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You could tell like they were like a little bit slower than everyone else, but they still did really well. I mean, considering they don't wrestle at all.
All right, Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. All right, first off, Dom's entrance was hilariously awesome.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
I loved it. I loved it. I love that he just, is full blown into this condom character. He was wearing one of Rey's masks, which I liked a lot. I thought he looked great in it. And then we had Rey's entrance, who he came out on in a lowrider with Snoop Dogg to one of Snoop Dogg's songs. Then it changed to Eddie Guerrero's theme song, and then it came to his own theme song, and he was wearing a mask that was paying homage to Great Muta.
Did anybody else? I mean, and I'm asking the people at home. I'm asking them too. Just hearing Eddie Guerrero's theme song in 2023 at WrestleMania, I was like, so sick. I was like, I wish he was there to walk out. There's some peace, baby.
It gave me like goosebumps for a second.
I know, and it's just like sad because then you just remember like he's not there, but he is there. It's like, damn.
It was good. I popped for it. I told Tim, I said, because he had to watch the next day, I said, if you're going to skip entrances, go for it, but watch Dom and Eddie's at least.
Yeah, those were good.
So, Rey Mysterio would end up winning the match, which I was kind of surprised. I see why now, though, with them headed to Puerto Rico. The finish was Dom got a chain, and Bad Bunny, who was out at the Spanish announce table, hopped up and took the chain from Dominic, and then Rey would end up getting the win. Now, let's give credit where credit's due. Dominic has gotten a lot better. He also has his dad as his training partner, who probably is the one that trained. He's the one that trained Dom, so they're very probably good in the ring with one another. He's so much better than he was. He was doing some moves I was like, okay.
And his 619 looks so much better too. Like before, it looked like he would barely get around.
His frog splashes have gotten better as well. His three amigos were looking good.
He's got to be feeling more confident. Like you can just tell. Like I don't think he's all the way there
with
yet.
This character, he's probably more sure of his character. Also,
and he's really good as like just this chicken shit. Like I hate this guy, but he's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how a couple months can go by and you're like,
oh man, a year ago I was like, this guy sucks. Why is he here?
Yeah, go back and listen to a pod of ours a year ago talking about Dominic Mysterio, and now we're giving him praise.
Being like, this guy literally has a job because of his dad, which probably is still true. But at the same time, I'm like, man, he's got
Triple
really
H
good.
Apparently has big long-term plans for Dom, so he's high on Dominic. I'll also say, I mean, Rey usually has a pretty good match, but I thought this was one of his more entertaining ones in a while. I was really into it.
I think so too. Yeah.
So after that, which this was to me match of the night from a wrestling standpoint, we had Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. New champion, Rhea Ripley. This match was awesome. Both of these ladies are fantastic. It's definitely
it was great.
I mean, I want to say it's probably in my top 10 like WrestleMania like wrestling wise matches. Maybe not story because I don't think the story was built all as well as it could have. But and for ladies matches, we're going to break it down even more, it's probably the best women's match I've seen at Mania.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so.
And all I mean, more than like Charlotte and Asuka, more than like Becky or Bianca and Sasha.
Yeah, there wasn't really a point where I was like ever bored in this match.
No, and it was a clean win too.
It was good.
She won with the riptide off the top rope, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was a cool spot too.
It's Rhea's time, baby.
So, Jaron, yeah, Tim, what do you think of the match? Just, I mean, pretty much.
Well,
agree.
I mean, I don't think you guys said this, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but I thought it was the best match on the card from a professional wrestling standpoint.
That's why I said from a wrestling standpoint, it was my match of the night. From like
if we were talking like if Meltzer was given 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome, I would put that up there. That was a good one.
Story wise, match of the night to me was the main event, but wrestling wise, sure. I thought this match was. If you
sat down with somebody and said, I want to see like a competitive good pro wrestling match, like that would be a good example of one to show.
And like I feel like this kind of talent though in the women's division is what AEW is lacking in their women's division.
Oh yeah, a lot.
But I mean, and that's
you need like a
like,
Sasha to come over and come in and do something.
But like, I just think like, I mean, you got Paige there, but like, I think that Rhea.
I don't think Paige can hang with Rhea and Charlotte.
But some of these girls on the other, that's what I'm saying. Some of these girls on the other show, man, at WWE are just operating at a different level. You know, like they're just too good.
Well,
Jamie Hayter's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point when I don't know, was it like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that WWE like signed every single women's wrestler.
Yeah,
when they're trying to build up their division.
You said AEW?
No, WWE did.
Oh yeah.
When there was like the Women's Revolution thing.
Yeah.
Signed, like,
oh yeah, when they so it was the Women's Revolution, and then they did the tournament, right? What was it, Mae Young tournament? Because it was supposed to be the Moolah thing, but then Mae Young Classic, yeah.
They did like at least 2 of those, I think. And if you look back at Rhea, then she's a completely different person.
I still think
blonde hair.
I still think the start of it was like a lot of the NXT girls just like putting on bangers, you know.
Yeah.
Ty Mello was even in there for the first time. I remember.
Yeah. They just signed all the women personnel. It's like
finally
get a group going outside of WWE.
And AEW's women's division, if you look at it from where it was at the start, has gotten better. It's going to take time, but I think that kind of the level of talent like this match showed is just night and day with the talent over there. So, but they'll get there. So a little cool down before our main event, we had Miz, Snoop Dogg out in the ring, who were the hosts of Mania. Pat McAfee, which apparently was a legit surprise to like the announcers and stuff. Returned, and he had a little impromptu match against The Miz, and winner was Pat McAfee. I forget the football player from the 49ers that got involved, but he hopped over and gave Miz a clothesline, which pretty decent looking clothesline for, I mean, he's a football player, so he can take someone down. But then we got to our main event, which was the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Now, Kevin and Sami's entrance, you can just see that like they were soaking it in, especially Kevin walking from each side, kind of being like, you know, me and my best friend are finally here, like together. And every time they showed that view from the top of the ramp out, I was like, God, there's so many people in this stadium.
So many people.
Stadium's huge. And apparently the Dallas stadium is more people, but this for some reason looked just way bigger. I don't know why. It's just every time they showed it that angle, I was just kind of blown away. But yeah, so the match itself, very good. I mean, the Usos are always putting on a great match. It was an emotional match. The story was there, and we have to say, it's the first time a tag match has main evented Mania. But if you watch the press conference afterwards, they asked him about that, and he said, from a story point, this is the story that's been building that deserved to headline the show. I mean, that's the whole reason. He's like, when the ladies, main evented, it wasn't because they were women, it's because the story, that was the biggest story that was being told at the time. And so it's like, that's the whole reason for putting whoever in the main event. But the new champions were Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, as they should have won. Afterwards, it seemed very emotional for them both, but, I don't know if the story's at an end, but this chapter of it certainly is, and the Bloodline has lost 2 sets of titles. So what you guys think of the match and the story before we get into night 2?
I mean, to me, the crazy thing is Sami Zayn has become a monster star within the past 3 months, basically. I mean, he was always kind of
well, probably from the start of him joining the Bloodline, not just the past 3 months. He became the best part of the Bloodline.
Yeah, but he was the funny guy. He was making people laugh, but he wasn't
It was since the Rumble, though, is what you're saying. It was top tier when he turned on Roman.
Yeah. But
how about you? And I want to ask you guys, what you guys think about, though, how the match ended? He gave him 3 haluva kicks to Jay.
Yeah.
And then pinned. Sammy got the win for the team.
It was an awesome ending to that story.
So I suggest, if you're listening, ever since I want to say Extreme Rules, maybe even before that, they've been doing these press conferences, and they're really insightful, and they're really good. People, the superstars, and are kind of out of character for the most part, and it's been really good stuff. And so I remember during the press conference, Kevin and Sammy bring up the Briscoes, they bring up PWG. I should probably bring up the hilarious Kevin Owens Snickers incident. And Triple H is low key one of the funniest people, especially night 2, on the press conference.
He was. We'll get into that. That was funny too.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, night 2. Let's get into it. It opened up with Brock Lesnar versus Omos. I thought this was going to be not good at all, but what made it good and different from the Brock matches, for once, Brock was the smaller guy. Brock was getting picked up and bear hugged like a baby. Omos has come into his role more, and I think Tim said it last night that he's come into that big guy role more, and he's gotten better and with that.
He moves pretty good.
But Brock did get him up for an F5 and got the win. So
the best part of this match, though, was how Brock sold it to being
he's the small guy now.
Yeah, but it was a struggle. At the end, his face was like, "Whoa, goddamn, that was a hard dude to beat." He sold it good.
I've never seen anyone make Brock look small, even Braun Strowman.
The crazy part was it just looks weird because he's 7'3", he's carrying him.
Yeah,
And just throws him.
it's a long span for his arms to grab. Match 2, just like night 1, this time we had a fatal 4-way women's match. It was Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez versus Ronda and Shayna Baszler, Shotzi and Natalya, and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Winners were Ronda and Shayna, which I think they were the favorites to win, but because of Ronda's arm, I kind of called it during the match that Ronda was going to hardly do anything and probably put an arm bar, and that's exactly what she did.
Oh, you calling during the match?
I mean, didn't I call it when we were?
You didn't even know Ronda was injured before that.
No, I knew it because she showed up with an arm brace on Raw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, yeah, I watched.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. See,
Right.
see, but she didn't have the brace. She just had like an elbow, like band thing. This match compared to the men's one was not as crazy, but it was a nice. I would say it was a cool down match from that. The crowd was hot from the beginning of the show. I'd say so.
Yeah.
After that, we had Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. This was a super hard hitting match. It's exactly this match of the night for you.
Yeah, I love this match.
Super hard hitting. No chest walked out of there, not red. As I hoped, and I think we all predicted. I actually might have said Sheamus for this, but Gunther ended up winning. Gunther's a star. Big things to come from him. He retained his title. What's your guys' thoughts on him, especially after this match?
Oh, he can easily challenge for. I actually want to see him and Roman, but I know they're not going to do that right now. But yeah, he's going to be a huge star.
How about you?
That he wrestles too.
How about you, Tim? Gunther after that match?
Yeah, I think he's. I think he's one of the guys of the future, 100%.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's like my age, which is crazy.
Honestly,
he looks so much
Yeah,
older.
crazy.
But
I know that sounds weird because we just got off of him, but like, I could see Omos being part of this new generation. I could see Dom being like a big part of this. You know what I mean? You can kind of see there's these new people that are kind of like boiling right now, where I'm like, this is going to be the new generation. Like, we got this generation, but there's going to be like a new generation that's coming.
no, I agree. And actually, I'm wrong. He's 3 years older than Tim, but he still looks like he's like 45.
Yeah, he's almost 50.
So yeah, Gunther retained his Intercontinental Championship. I still wish they would just change the look of the title.
They need to.
Some titles need to change, especially the tag titles too.
Yeah.
I'm over the big nickels.
And I think
Bianca
that
Belair
it's
versus
over.
Asuka for the WWE Raw Women's Championship. Okay. Beginning of the match I thought was kind of slow, and then it really grabbed my attention about like halfway through. I know it grabbed Tim's attention about halfway through, and they really tore it up by the end of the match. Asuka, I really wanted to win, but Bianca Belair, who won the title last Mania, retained. Asuka is now, I did not know this, I found it today, 0-5 at WrestleMania, which is unfortunate because she's a really good talent.
It's the anti-streak.
The anti-streak. Yeah. So I watched this with you, Tim. We might have been off the Riverside with you, Jeremy, by this match. Yeah. So Tim, what did you think? And then Jeremy, what did you think? Tim has me saying Oscar, by the way, because that's what Corny calls her. So now
Oscar?
I can't not call Oscar.
Oh my god.
No, I thought it was a good match. I really like the more serious. See, now I almost did it. I like the more serious Asuka. No, I thought.
Oh yeah, you talked about that last night. Then she's like, oh, or whatever. You said the backstage.
Well, I'm not even. I like when she was like silly and like the character was like almost like. Not that she was doing it, but like the stuff.
It was a parody of an Asian person.
Yes, it seemed racist.
It was a parody. Yeah,
yeah, and now it's she's at least like it's cool. It doesn't feel like that anymore.
She's back to being
vicious.
Like intimidating.
Yeah.
Best version of us, though.
So I wasn't sure where because I finished up the notes today, and I wasn't sure where this was either before this match or after, but. Miz and Snoop Dogg are in the ring. Shane McMahon's music hits. Shane McMahon comes out. The crowd is hot. I would not be hot for this if I was there personally.
No. No.
I was bummed. I was like, womp womp. Andy, I can't wait for you to tell the part. I can't wait for you to tell the part where I immediately was like, well, Shane's hurt. I knew. I just knew in that, like, the first second that it happened.
So Miz had another impromptu match. Night one was Pat McAfee. Tonight it became Shane McMahon. And they barely get started. Shane throws his terrible punches to Miz in the corner. And they go off the ropes. And Shane, I guess, goes to hit the ropes from the side and comes back or something.
And does the leapfrog, and then as he lands, right?
As he lands, it looked like, I'll tell you what it looked like, and then I will tell you what actually happened to him, because Triple H said what happened to him in the press conference. It looked like his knee blew out. Right, Tim?
Yeah.
And right away, Tim's like, you're like, oh, Shane's hurt. No, Shane's legit hurt.
I was like, he's hurt. He just blew his knee out. I was like, I know it. I know he just did. And then...
But Tim knew right away that it was real.
I was like, something's weird.
Yeah,
I don't...
Funny thing was that the Miz kept running the ropes for a second afterwards.
That's how bad. That's when I knew, because then Shane tried to put his body like in front of him, and it just was like, it was like when Sting got the power bomb, the buckle bomb, and he collapsed. I just was like, something's not right. Something's weird.
So then Snoop Dogg called an audible, basically, and punched Miz. Punched Miz twice. First one really looked like a real punch. Tim was like, damn, you just punched the shit out of him. I was like, he doesn't know any other way. He just knows the streets. Snoop D-O-double-G.
Dude, Snoop Dogg was the man last night.
He's the man
during this.
I mean, Triple H said he's like, well, he's a performer, so that's what Triple H said. He's like, he's a performer, and he'd like figure out how to like keep things going. He did the 2 punches, and then he probably did the only wrestling move he had done to like his kids ever, which was the people's elbow. He couldn't take anything else, so he threw glasses in the crowd, which are probably worth a bunch of freaking money. And he hit the people's elbow, and then pinned him.
This makes the Miz. It made the Miz look terrible, but it was good.
Miz has
for
a new
Snoop.
record. It's a new world record, which is he's the only person ever to lose back-to-back nights at WrestleMania. So, yeah.
That all in his suit too.
Yeah. So, but like I said, what ended up happening to Shane McMahon, we found out during the press conference that Shane McMahon tore his quad. Like father, like son.
Like son-in-law.
Like father, like son, and like son-in-law. Because remember, Vince tore 2 quads, both quads getting in the ring at the Rumble. And then Triple H's infamous quad injury years before that. And now Shane. I guess Shane's like, you know what? Shouldn't be coming back.
That was like literally 30 seconds into the match, which was hilarious.
Well, like the next day, today, WWE posted here comes the money. Shane McMahon returned. I'm like, why would you post this? I would not want anybody to see.
Don't even do that.
I would not want anybody to see that.
Well, speaking of injuries, we had Edge versus Finn Balor. Hell in a Cell. Edge's entrance, he came up, flames. It started with a Slayer song. He's wearing this really reflective mask/helmet piece. He gets about a little bit down the ramp, takes it off, music switches to his normal entrance music, comes out, gets to the ring. Then we had the Demon, Finn Balor, returning. He made his entrance. Thank God he didn't crawl all the way down the ramp.
I was just thinking that. I was like, he's not going to crawl.
But he had these purple smoke sticks, and what did you say, Tim? You're he's probably just getting it. He's tasting it.
Well, because when they did the slow mo, it kept going in his mouth, and he was like,
okay, they did a slow mo of his twirl.
And he was trying to get out of the way.
So the match got started. They did a bunch of spots. Me and Tim were not a fan of every weapon being colored either purple or red.
Why?
I hate
Why? What was that?
But the cell was back to being a silver cell.
Yes.
So thank God they gave us that.
I was
They're like, oh, sorry.
They got the cell the right color.
And
our weapons now.
but not only that, they painted them the colors of like the red was like the Edge weapons and like the purple was like the Balor weapons.
That's exactly
I was like, this
what it was.
sucks. I was like, I do not like whatever this is.
It's like, in case you forgot.
Nothing like a spray painted purple kendo stick getting used the whole match. I'm like, God.
So there was one spot early on that Tim thought that Edge had gotten cut open when Edge went through the table, and the table like fell on top of
it. Just scratched the side of his eyebrow.
Yeah, and then Balor launched chairs at Edge's head, which that spot every time when people just take the chair and throw it. I'm just like, oh, dude.
Has to hurt
But
so
Edge
bad.
was not the one that got hurt. It was Finn who would end up getting hurt when Edge tossed the ladder at Finn, and it looks like Finn's arms missed like to grab the ladder, and that step, all right, it hit about right here on his head. It was way worse than I thought after seeing the picture today.
It was way worse. Yeah, I was like, whoa.
The camera pulls back, and you just see droplets of blood in like a trail, and then at that point, it's.
And I was yelling.
Bad.
I was yelling. I was like, "Oh, Finn's fucked up." I was like, "Finn just got that Joey Mercury." It was like I was.
Joey Mercury.
So the ref kind of stops it, calls in the doctor. Edge, being the pro, it looks like he's fucking pissed at first, but maybe it's just in character of like,
Well, because the ref's telling him like you can't, and he's looking like his eyes are like darting around. You can tell him he's like thinking. He's like, all right, what do we do? Like, what do we do next?
So he went to the outside, looked through a toolbox, looked for weapons.
But I said, and I said when he was doing that, me and Andy were getting hyped. I was like, come on, Edge, be that ring general right now that we need you to be. And he's like his eyes are like all like moving around.
So because of the paint on Balor, we couldn't see how bad it was, but obviously it was pretty bad. But the doctors came in. They probably put that powder on him that Tim uses as a barber that kind of just like dries up the wound, basically.
It probably burnt. We at work, what we use is like a styptic powder, which it cauterizes immediately and like dries it. But dude, that stuff burns so bad. So I can only imagine whatever she put on his head to make it stop.
So afterwards, though, they got right back into it like nothing had happened. They did a couple cool spots. Finn climbed up and stood on this like plate that had been planted there and did a coup de grace through the table, but Edge rolled off, I believe, and just Balor went through. I did read that the match still was cut short, though, because I guess they wanted to hit their main spots that they really wanted to. But it was basically rushed also, like, to make up for time. But Edge would end up winning, and it wasn't going to be a pretty match. When you're telling a story and it's culminating all to, like, basically killing each other inside a Hell in a Cell, it's not going to be a pretty match. I think it did exactly what it should have. They just we're supposed to have a little bit more time, but they couldn't. But I thought it was good, and it hopefully told the end of their story. I don't know where you go from there after Hell in a Cell, but yeah. Any thoughts? Yeah.
Like the match itself, that's what I expected it to be. Was like it's different than anything on the card, so I thought that was kind of cool.
I guess
like a crazy like spot match.
I guess after Finn's win at Extreme Rules and in the I Quit match, Edge had to finally get his revenge and win on Finn Balor. So anything you guys want to add about this before we get to our main event? All right.
This main event that's 98% amazing.
All right, so what do you guys want to talk about?
So what do you guys want to talk about? How I broke your throne and you're a little bitter about it?
So Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. If this match was able to get bet on, Cody was the favorite. A lot of people would have lost money. Or a lot of people would have won a lot of money if you were like, nah, I'm tribal chief till the end. Cody and Roman come out. Solo and Heyman are with Roman. I want to say match was very good. Wrestling-wise, match was great. It's very good. A lot of false finishes, though the whole time we were thinking Cody was going to win. Solo gets ejected at one point. Usos end up getting involved at one point. Sami and Kevin end up coming out to take out the Usos. But Solo came back, hits Cody with a Samoan spike. Roman hits the spear. 1, 2, 3. The air leaves the building. People were pissed.
Crazy.
I was in shock. I was with Tim. I had to pause it, rewind, just to be like, did that really just happen? Cody Rhodes lost at Mania. Roman Reigns retained his titles. I don't think the majority of people, I think 80% of people did not see that coming. Unlike night one where people stuck around to watch Sami and KO celebrate, people walked out immediately. No, I was mad at it at first. If you watch the press conference, Jeremy still is. If you watch the press conference, because even Tim, you too, after we watched that together, you were like, okay, I see what they're doing, where they're going. So
Triple H
Roman
is
and
good
Paul
at
basically.
diffusing.
Yeah, but Roman and Paul too. They said that if this was a baseball game, they're only in like the third inning of this story. There's much more to tell. Triple H basically talked about long-term storytelling. He's like, that's just a chapter, in this full story. The story isn't over. This isn't going to be just a one-off. Though, if they could have gone back and told the story and then ended at Mania, but instead you make the first encounter at Mania, which, like, the ending of the story should be at Mania. Unless they're like, we're going to drag it all the way till next year, too. And then Cody's going to get it. Like,
I know. I was thinking maybe like SummerSlam, but they all the way to.
I'm hoping SummerSlam. So
this is long-term storytelling, but it's like each chapter is like 6 months.
Yeah, but the word was thrown out, getting dragged out, and Triple H is like using the word dragged out. That makes it seem like it's a negative thing. He's just like, what do you say? He's like, if a movie were to end after like the 4th chapter of the movie, you'd be like, this is a terrible movie. And so if you hated the ending, I think you'd be, and I'm butchering what was said, but if you hated the ending and
I'm trying to think of it like this right now.
It might ease it a little bit more. But where do you go from here besides keeping Cody Rhodes going?
This is how I'm trying to think of it. Let me give you guys this analogy. And if you haven't seen Game of Thrones by now, I'm sorry. Either fast forward or just finally go watch some pop culture. I don't know what you're doing. But
oh yeah, you brought this analogy up last night.
So, first season, you think Ned Stark's the guy. He dies, and then you're like,
favorite character.
Yep, and you're like, wow,
spoiler
that's
if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but you should have by now if you have.
Well, that's what I just said. I said go be a part of pop culture. I can't help you. I'm sorry. It's been like 4 years now since it ended. And then who was the second one? The champion of the North, the king of the North. He dies too in the Red Wedding.
Was Ned's? Well, Ned Stark was the king of the North, and then his son Robert.
So then Robert dies.
Not Robert, but
Rob.
Yeah, Rob and his wife and his mom all die at the Red Wedding.
But what I'm saying is like, but then there's all those parts in the show where you're like, where does the story from here go? And then it keeps going, and it gets better. Still good.
Yeah.
So hopefully they don't botch the ending like Game of Thrones did, but we'll see.
I do think Cody is going to be the one to eventually dethrone Roman. If the story that's being told is them too.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add to this match and this storyline as a whole before I say one more thing and then we can wrap it up?
No, I don't really have anything.
All right. Well, we should probably add, because it's big news, WWE and UFC's parent company, I guess you could say, Endeavor, is basically buying out WWE, and they're forming a publicly traded company. So they're merging, essentially. I don't know where mustache Vince McMahon fits in. Yeah, Vince's evil twin brother is he's been around lately. He has a mustache and much darker hair than his twin brother.
Dude,
that was Vince McMahon. This is Kennedy McMahon. All right,
he's like 3 seconds away from being like, quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a.
He's like J. Jonah Jameson from or he's like he's J. Jonah Jameson. He's the guy from Gone with the Wind.
My dude's rocking that Gone with the Wind sheet right now.
But to my opinion, it's better than Saudi buying the company. Them
Endeavor,
and Comcast.
Endeavor was the best case scenario.
But what happens with WWE's deal with Saudi of doing those pay-per-views? Do they become bitter? Do they? We got Crown Jewel coming up in a couple months.
But the bigger thing is Vince now is the.
Do they trap them in the country again and don't let them fly out?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I remember that.
But that was it.
I remember when Zack Ryder landed after the first time they got held hostage. Basically, when he landed back in America, he just tweeted "Never again." That's all he read. No.
So if there's nothing else to add, it was a big wrestling week, and we look forward to it every year. Tim, I don't know if you have a show of the week. If it is, it should probably be a Mania show. Pick a Mania.
It is a Mania show. It is a Mania show, and I'm not going to pick any Mania. I want to know how old all of you were the first time WrestleMania went Hollywood.
Was that the one when they had all these movie reenactments?
Yep, it was WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania 21. And it was WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, and it was April 3rd, 2005. So we're going to look through some of the matches here.
Well, we got Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels.
Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Undertaker and Randy Orton, Batista and Triple H, John Cena and JBL, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. It's pretty stacked. You got Edge, Chris Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Benoit, and Christian in a Money in the Bank ladder match. So, man, it's not quite 20 years ago, but it's like
that's the first Money in the Bank ladder match.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is the first time WrestleMania went Hollywood. So go back, watch WrestleMania 21, and enjoy. Thank you for watching or for joining us for our WrestleMania review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We had a good time doing it. As always, we thank you, and we hope you have a great week. Go watch them wrestling, and join us next week for episode 79. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good one.